This is Bren Smith, a former fisherman from the US, one among thousands who lost their livelihoods when the cod stocks collapsed from overfishing in the 1990s. In the 2000s, Bren tried to reinvent himself as a shell fisherman, but this time it was climate change that set him back. 2 hurricanes hit 1 year after the other, burying 90% of his stock in over 3 feet of mud. Despite these major challenges, Bren has developed what many are calling a revolutionary new farming practice, one that is centered on restoring ecosystems, producing enormous amounts of food, and all with the help of employing former felons. On just 1 acre, Bren claims that he can produce over 50,000 tons of greens and 250,000 shellfish in the space of just 5 months. This is one example of a regenerative economic initiative. I study a range of these initiatives in New Zealand. These are initiatives that are trying to do economy differently, to introduce more justice into our system. I study projects like the Mussel Reef Restoration Farm in the Hauraki Gulf, funded by international philanthropists. Projects like the iwi-led $100 million bond scheme aimed at restoring the Upper Waipa catchment. I want to know how these projects are constructed, and I want to know what their construction can tell us about things like economic, environmental, and social justice. How do I do this? Well, what if instead of evaluating a project just based on its outputs, we took a step back and we asked, how does a project actually come to be? What are the practices, the processes, the people involved in actually bringing something like a complex marine ecosystem into a functioning economic initiative? I've been following these projects for some time, and what I'm able to show is that it is essential to take a much broader view onto those things that construct an economy. You might be very surprised to know, for example, that it is something far more diverse than a simple producer and consumer relationship that brings about a regenerative economic initiative. In fact, across most of the case studies that I follow, it is often the people in this very room who are the sources of these projects. Your PhDs, your master's students, your postdocs, your values, your judgments, your calculations, your will to make this world a better place often becomes mobilized to be the frameworks of these projects. How those things get mobilized along the way, whether they get distorted or dropped off or retained, is an essential part in understanding the differences across the frameworks of these projects, and ultimately in being able to locate those practices and those processes that we want to keep for the construction of a more just economy in New Zealand.